Marvel Rivals vs Overwatch 2 is the next big rivalry in the PvP gaming scene. If you're a fan of either game, you're already aware of the feud between these games. While I'm not the greatest at either game, I still want to give my thoughts and opinions on both games as someone that genuinely enjoys both games. Before we begin the video, I want to clarify that this is going to be an opinion piece, but I am going to try to be as non-biased as I possibly can. To get the obvious out of the way, let's get over the similarities. Both are chaotic arena shooters where teams of either 5 or 6 play against each other in a variety of different game modes such as Payload, Hardpoint, and Hybrid, along with some party modes on the side. The differences are what this video is about, so let's just get straight into it. The biggest difference is how you view the game. In Marvel Rivals, you view the world in third person, meaning you view the game like it's a camera behind your character. In Overwatch, it's a first-person shooter, meaning you view the game through the character's eyes. This might not seem like a big deal to the majority of you, but it can make an impact on how you play the game. For example, in Rivals, it allows you to do a lot of cheesy strats. You could hug a wall and watch the other team without being seen yourself simply because of how the camera angles work. It could also cause issues with your shooting. If you're shooting too close to a wall, it might just hit the wall instead of where the crosshair is aiming at. If you try to shoot from a high angle looking down, it might just hit the floor because, again, where the crosshair is not where the bullet is always going to go. There is a warning indicating where your bullet's going to go if you're too close to a wall, but when you're in the heat of battle, you're not going to see this or even notice it. If you played Overwatch or any other first-person shooter, you already know that this isn't the case with those kind of games. For the most part, the bullet will go where the crosshair is. Obviously, there's some variables like distance, bloom, and spread that could mess with your shooting, but generally speaking, if you're close to a wall, the bullet should still be able to go to your target, even if the model is hitting the wall already. I personally like the first-person perspective because I'm just used to it, and I like to see where my bullets are going instead of it just hitting some wall that's near me, but I understand why Rivals is in third person. Half of these characters would not be able to exist if they were in first person. Seriously, imagine Iron Fist or Spider-Man in first person. I'd probably throw up 5 minutes into the game. As far as content goes, Overwatch in its current state has more content, but Marvel Rivals has a massive advantage in the long run. Rivals has generations worth of source material to build off of. Hell, some of these characters are older than my grandparents and video games themselves. All they have to do is pick some characters from the comics and turn them into video game characters. Even the maps themselves, you could just pick iconic areas from the comics and make 5 different maps from it. Overwatch has to make everything from scratch. The character, their design, their abilities, the maps. So while Overwatch does have more content in its current state, Marvel Rivals can easily catch up and even surpass them within a couple of years. The user experience is pretty seamless across the board. Both are pretty polished titles, and I have yet to experience any game-breaking bugs or glitches. Servers seem to be pretty good in both games. Hit registration is good. The server tick rate is the same for both games. If I'm not mistaken, it's around 60 hertz. I haven't encountered any cheaters, but I suck at both games, so maybe I'm just not seeing them. Basically, the bare minimum of a game functioning as a video game is there for both games. What I define as the bare minimum is being able to press the play button at the main menu and get the best experience possible without having to download some kind of third-party software. I know that might sound like a no-brainer, but there are still some big games out there with rich developers that still can't get this right after 20 years. Monetization, oh boy, everyone's favorite. Both games use the store system where you go to a tab dedicated to skins and you get to pick and choose which skins to buy. There are both permanent options and temporary options where skins cycle in and out of the store. Both also use the Battle Pass system where you pay $10 to $25 for a linear progression system that gives you skins, titles, sprays, charms. You already know what a Battle Pass system is, so I don't need to explain this any further. I have noticed that Rivals players don't have a problem with this because it's always been like this. However, on the other side with Overwatch, the players have a lot of beef with this method, and that's mainly because loot boxes were a thing in Overwatch 1, allowing players to earn everything through grinding out loot boxes and sheer dumb luck. Loot boxes did return recently, but it's not the same system as before. I'm gonna be real with the Overwatch guys here. As an Overwatch veteran that has been playing since the early betas on Xbox, that loot box system, the old one, was way too generous for what it it was. There were two issues with this system. The first issue is that you got way too many for free, and while I do like free, the game needs constant revenue, and loot boxes were just not doing that. Even if you did buy the loot boxes, that was an extremely predatory method as it was basically unrestricted gambling. And if you watch my previous videos, you know how I feel about gambling. I fucking hate it, and I hope it never returns. You also have to remember that Overwatch was pretty dirt cheap. It was around like $40 at launch and then reduced to $20 just a year later. I'm sorry, but there's no way a game like it can last on that one purchase alone. If you paid any more than that, you were either ripped off from the start, or you're a console player that is already used to getting ripped off. So while it does suck that we have to pay $20 to $40 just to buy some skins, the store system is the lesser evil of the two. And both games being free now basically means that some form of constant revenue needs to exist to an extent. Sorry chat, I have to go a bit off script here because I found out that Rivals has an archive area showing all the battle passes from previous seasons. I legitimately had no idea this was a thing until I started recording this video and my friends told me about it, so props to Marvel Rivals for giving people the opportunity to catch up with the older battle passes. I wish Overwatch did this as well, but again, if you're asking from my perspective, I really could care less. I don't care about cosmetics that much, but it is nice for those that do. Community and developer relations is probably the biggest difference here. When it comes to Overwatch, it never had a true competitor, or at least one that was nearly successful enough to threaten Overwatch's existence. Because of that massive success, Blizzard didn't really need to do anything to retain their audience since there wasn't anywhere else to go. So Blizzard knew they could take their sweet ass time with everything and make stupid decisions because, again, the player base didn't have anywhere else to go. Marvel and NetEase looked at this and basically gave the people what they had before, which was that 6v6 hero shooter experience many Overwatch fans were yearning for, and I don't see them changing that anytime soon. They also take community feedback towards their decisions with the game, though some of them might not be the greatest ideas, like not recalibrating the ranks just because people didn't want to lose progress. That was pretty stupid, but at least they listened. Blizzard is starting to get off their ass and make good changes, but it's going to take a long time before the community regains their trust, if ever. All Rivals has to do is not screw this up, or at least explain why certain decisions are the way they are instead of caving into pressure, because there needs to be a balance of both. The communities. I'm going to be real with you guys. I can't talk about this too much because I'm not that deep into either community. The only part of it I'm somewhat familiar with is the competitive side of both games. Rivals is still new to the bunch, but I have noticed that a lot of ex-Overwatch pros and content creators are moving onto Rivals since that's kind of the only other option they have. As far as the experience with them goes, I'd say it's pretty much the same across the board. Most of my games in both titles have been super chill with comms and a conversation throw around once in a while. This is going to depend on what platform you play on, where you live, what game modes you play, what rank you are, so your mileage may vary. I'm on PC in North America, so I'm basing everything off that. The only thing I find annoying is the actual rivalry itself. These two communities seem to really not like each other despite both of their existence being good for both games, and both communities try so hard to not be the other guys that it just becomes really annoying. And with Rivals specifically, people praise it like it's the second coming of Christ, saying things like every live service game should be like Rivals. Well, Sherlock, where do you think they got these ideas from? The only real difference is that skins might be a bit more generous when it comes to attaining them, but I feel like people shouldn't be this thirsty over cosmetics to begin with. So which is the better game? In my opinion, in the current state of both games, Rivals is the better casual game while Overwatch is the better competitive game. It's still early days for Rivals esports and Rivals competitive in general, so balance is still in its infancy and most people still don't know how to play this game at a coordinated level, so now is a really good time to join before solid metas are established. And before anyone says fuck balance, keep it fun, balance is gonna happen at some point. What may seem fun to you might be extremely annoying and frustrating to many others. Change is inevitable with time and experience. That's just the nature of hero shooters and PvP as a whole. Overwatch already went through those changes for good and bad, and I'd say it's in a pretty good state all things considered, especially with the new perk system. Once they go back to 6v6, I do think the game can make a massive comeback with it. My advice to anyone watching watching this video is to not play what's better, but play what makes you happier. If you enjoy Rivals more than Overwatch, play Rivals. If you enjoy Overwatch more, play Overwatch. Neither side should shame each other for having a preference. If anything, each game can learn from one another. For example, another hot take I have is that ranked and Rivals should have some kind of role queue or role limit option within the medal ranks. Solo queuing ranked Rivals in its current state is some of the most demoralizing and frustrating experiences I have ever experienced. And that's mainly because everyone wants to be a duelist so badly that they rather throw than adapt to anything else. It's nice if you have friends to queue with you so you can bounce off each other and play what the team needs, but for like 80% of people in this game, they're not going to have that option. And before you talk about queue times, it is not bad if you're a flex player. People should learn how to play the other roles anyways. As far as personal preferences go, I still gravitate towards Overwatch simply because I have way more experience there and solo queuing ranked doesn't make me want to blow my brains out. But Rivals is that breath of fresh air I was looking for, bringing me back to the old days of playing a chaotic hero arena shooter for the first time. It's also nice to finally have an official PvP superhero game that isn't either a fighting game or a pay-to-win mobile cash grab. So that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know your thoughts about both games down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video either way. Leave a like, subscribe for more content, and I'll talk to you all later.
Close your eyes. Oh, fortified.